Oh, hello there. I'm the Hidden Hermit, and this is my contribution to the My Arcana Full Challenge. So, in the spirit of the challenge, I thought I'd do something I've never ever done before, which is make a video. So I feel pretty silly right now, foolish even. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how it's going to turn out. It's probably going to be very, very shoddy. But thanks for watching anyway. So, the Fall. The challenge asks quite a lot of questions. Explain what the Fall means to you, how you can relate to the Fall, how it comes up in readings, etc, etc. So I'm going to have a little exploration of what that means and what it means to me. I have a deck of cards here. Let's draw one and see what happens, shall we? Oh look, it's the Fall. Classic Rider-Waite-Smith. We're all, I'm sure we know the imagery quite well. There's a sun shining on a male or female character with a dog yapping at its heels, flower in hand. There's lots and lots of symbology and correspondences going on with the Rider-Waite, and I think we're all familiar with it. I think that the Fall card is somewhat beloved with tarot readers. It has this sort of innocence about it. When the Fall card comes up, everybody breathes a sigh of relief. It's, the Fall. It's the Fall. There's a Fall in us all, isn't there? I remember when I was the Fall. And I think that's got a lot to do with the concept of the Fool's journey. You have this character who is just embarking on life, and he meets all these other characters on his journey to personal development and spiritual enlightenment. And as a tarot reader, the Fall is where you start, obviously. So yeah, I do think that people love the Fall for this reason. However, I do have a few misgivings about that. But we'll get to that in due course. Let's draw another card, and we have... Ooh, this is the First Light Tarot, which is it's a bit of a weird deck in that it has a major but no minors. And as you can see up here, you've got 0, Fall, Voyager, and that is not Voyager, that's the Hubble Space Telescope. And yet the keyword here, Voyager, it's implying that you're going on some sort of journey, even though the Hubble Space Telescope just goes around the planet, but it does look at stuff that are far, far away. I'm going to leave that one. It's an interesting card, interesting deck, but it just tells you that there's a journey involved. Next up, here we have, well, this isn't the Fall card. This is from the Fountain deck, and this is called the Fountain. And you're probably thinking the what? What card is that? The Fountain deck has added the Fountain card, and I'm showing it to you for two reasons. First up, I've lost my Fall card. Some of you may be aware of my magical misadventures on New Year's Eve, and I think the Fall card's in a puddle somewhere. But hey, according to the little white book in the Fountain deck, the Fountain means spirit. It means be, which I also think applies to the Fall card a lot. It's the first card in the Major Arcana. The Major Arcana is representative of spirit, where the other suits, handle fire, mentality, etc, etc. But so I'm showing you the Fountain card because it does mean spirit, and I think it corresponds well with the Fall as we know it. Moving on, Shadowscapes. Beautiful deck, if you ever saw one. I don't know if you can see this cut on my hand. It's really sore. I burnt myself. Don't focus on that. It's horrible. But yeah, here we have the Shadowscapes. Very, very attractive woman who's either being undressed by a gang of dirty pigeons or dressed by an equally prudent and chaste bunch of doves. I don't know. But you have the familiar symbology of a person on a precarious ledge. In this case, it looks like a monkey head. There's a dog-like creature looking up to her. Interesting about the Shadowscapes, the Rider-Waite I mean, is it a boy? Is it a girl? You don't know. And I think that's important, the fact that the fool is kind of genderless, but clearly a woman. Clearly a woman in Shadowscapes. But you get the same vibe of on the edge of something, ready to jump off. Things looking at you as well. That there is a lot of symbology in the Shadowscapes that is kind of hidden. So I'm sure the monkeys and the butterflies and the shining orbs mean something, but it's beyond me. It's beyond me. Moving on, we have Mystic Dreamer Tarot. Interestingly, the text for the Mystic Dreamer was written by Barbara Moore, who also did Shadowscapes. Different artist though. Now, the Mystic Dreamer Tarot it's a bit weird, if you ask me, because it tries to cram in all the symbology that you get with the Rider-Waite-Smith, and then adds a whole bunch of its own. I don't know if you can see right in the corner there, you've got a crow sitting on a sign that says The Journey. You're going to have to take my word for that, really, aren't you? And you have, I believe this is a female form here, throwing lots of cards around. And I don't know if you can see it, but they are actually the following cards of the Major Arcana. So that one just by her arm up there, that's the Magician. Again, we're on something. She's striking an interesting pose. I say she because in the book it gives it a gender for some reason. I'm just going to have to believe that. You still have the dog, in this case a wolf. Kind of a nonchalant looking wolf, whereas the Rider-Waite dog's like excited or panicked. This wolf's just a bit meh. You also have you've got the little knapsack thing, a lantern, you've got the mountains. So it's similar, but the Mystic Dreamer does kind of throw in other stuff just for the hell of it, I think. Also, this card introduces an element which I don't want to focus on just yet because it's kind of thrown my flow a little bit. It will come up a bit later, so I will come back to the Mystic Dreamer. And moving on, the Wildwood Tarot. This is an interesting one because it's called the Wanderer for a start. But same sort of vibe. Again, a genderless figure on the edge of something, about to step onto a rainbow. Personally, I don't suggest you tread on rainbows, but again, the Wildwood Tarot is card 0, and this character is about to enter the woods, if you like. Again, indicative of a spiritual journey, something that is a little more abstract. For example, this character is not starting a business or starting a relationship. It's something internal. Beautiful card as well. The Wildwood Tarot is a lovely deck. Okay, next. Oh, here we go. So I hope to hear lots of ahs across the universe. This is a baby duck. It's a baby duck. I'm not sure why baby ducks are considered foolish, but this is the Wild Unknown. If you don't know the Wild Unknown, I wouldn't say you're missing out because you can always get to know it, but it is a beautiful deck of cards. And, well, it's a baby duck. Now, what I find really interesting about the Wild Unknown is a baby duck is not just naive and lacking knowledge, it's also very, very vulnerable. I live in a part of the world where there are a lot of ducks, and last year, in fact, I saw a seagull eat 5 ducklings, just going down and picking them off, because baby ducks are very, very vulnerable. I think that's kind of important here. They're so cute as well. Who doesn't love a baby duck? Wild Unknown, cracking deck. I'll put you over here. Okay, now we're going to get onto the nitty gritty. This is probably something you've never seen before. This is the Ritual Golden Dawn, and a completely different image, I think. There's tons of symbology in here, tons of it. Down in the bottom right, you've got the symbol for air. The 4 is attributed to air. which is interesting because it does imply some sort of mental correspondence, although, as I've already mentioned, it's more spiritual for myself. Going back to the Ritual Golden Dawn, you have a massive dog and a teeny tiny fool. It's a little baby. I believe it's meant to represent the god Hippocrates, I think. A god I don't really know that much about. Whatever. There's tons and tons of imagery in here, though. A few of the more scholarly things that I'd like to cover. You've got the Hebrew letter Aleph there, which is stated to be God's favourite letter. Lucky letter, if you ask me. Which means you can't attribute it to a number, hence the reason why the fool is number 0. I'm sure the colours and the flowers mean stuff. In fact, there's 7 flowers on there. I'm sure that's very important. Also, that this childlike creature has got his wolf on a leash, implying some sort of control. I don't know how much control a baby would have over a wolf, but hey. It's also making that shh gesture, which, if you're familiar with, say, the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram, is quite important to shush the quarters. Interesting card. I'm not keen on the artwork though, but hey. The Hermetic stuffs all that symbology in a striking black and white way. So again, you've got a symbol for air, you've got the Hebrew letter Aleph, 0. This is called the Foolish Man, and the Golden Dawn also attributed the fool as the spirit of ether. Going back to that spiritual correspondence, if you ask me. Everything else is there. You've got the dog, wolf, whatever. He's holding the flower. There is an extra flower. Interestingly, you have the symbol for Pluto here. Now, some decks and traditions attribute the fool to both air and Pluto, or both air and Uranus. I don't have any decks that correspond to Uranus in any way, but yes, Pluto is in there. Amazing. I do love the Hermetic deck. It's striking, and there's just tons of info on there. Okay, moving on. One of my personal favourites, the Thoth deck. Now, I did have a large, here we go, yeah, check it out. It's like, whoa, it grows. Now look at this guy. This guy is, I don't know, he's kind of creepy looking. He kind of creeps me out. And again, genderless. There is definitely breastage going on there. Just soak this card in for a minute. Just look at all the stuff on there. Now, Aleister Crowley has a lot to say about, a lot to say about the Fool. In the Book of Thoth, it goes on for about 20 pages, and he kind of highlights the fact that there is a Fool character in most major mythologies, and he sort of outlines them with his typical wit and erudition, and yeah, he just goes on, and I'm not even going to scratch what he goes on about, but there's a whole bunch of stuff in there that's just crazy. Like, for example, I'll give you one example. But the top half of him is a bit of a fella, and that kind of triangle on the top is meant to be a phallus. Personally, I don't see it, but but there's a whole ton of stuff going on here. There is a guy on YouTube that does videos for the Thoth deck, and his video for the Fool is fascinating. It's fascinating. I think his delivery is a little bit dry. I'm not sure if I'm the sort of person to be contemplating that sort of thing, but full of great information. If I remember, and if I can figure it out, I'll put a link in the description, or you can try and figure it out yourself. I don't know. I'm going to move on from, I mean, this is very, very different to most of the other cards we've seen. I think you'll agree. You have the imagery of, on a precipice, on a branch, about to step onto a rainbow, and of course, mountains and mountains. So you've got this idea that you're on the precipice. You're going to be making a leap of faith. And you don't get that so much with the Thoth deck. It's who knows what's going on with that. And the one thing Aleister Crowley does go on to mention is that if the Fool comes up, it does pertain to a positive spiritual change, but not so much with other matters. And I think that's where I kind of drop anchor. I'm kind of suspicious of the Fool when he comes up in readings because, well, he's a foolish person. He doesn't know what he's doing, like me right now. And so I think you have to be wary when he does come up. Some of these following decks kind of illustrate that point. So let's move on to the Archeon. Now, this is a cracking image, and if I can go back to the Mystic Dreamer, she's got a jester's hat on, which is full blown. I mean, look at this woman. She's not only got a jester's hat on, but she's crazy. Look at her. She's mental. And again, up here we've got the sun. The Archeon goes straight to the moon. Big old moon there. And I think it's delving into that slightly unhinged aspect of the Fool. The part that you need to be wary of. It's all very well having faith in yourself and jumping off. Do you know, I'm really thirsty. How the hell does Zoella do this all the time? It's too much talking for my liking. Anyway, so yeah, it kind of touches on that darker and dangerous almost aspect of the Fool. I often wonder, for every effeminate person that's jumped off this cliff and bounced off a cloud, how many broken bodies are there at the bottom of the mountain with little white dogs chewing on their fingers? It's a lovely image to leave you with, but yeah, what would the ratio be? Because it does really depend on the context, and I do feel that the Fool is a spiritual thing, and well, this spiritual journey here is going to really be delving into the shadow self, I think. I mean, you've got these masks here as well. I don't know how relevant that is, but it does make me tremble a little bit, the Archeon. Cracking image though. Crazy lady. If you wanted creepy, we can get even creepier with the Deviant Moon. Now, obviously there's a moon in this picture because it's the Deviant Moon deck. But you're still getting a sense of that sort of Joker, court jester vibe, or it could be this guy's pajamas. I don't know. But yeah, he's running through what looks like a sort of a canal in Venice, and instead of a dog, he's got some really aggressive looking fish. And I don't know, that expression, is it fear, or is it lack of fear even? Is it, I don't care. These fish can bite me because I don't know any better. And this character's just running along, not a care in the world. And again, I mean, it is the Deviant Moon deck. It is meant to be a bit creepy, but I get the sense that this guy's going to come a cropper if he's not careful. There was one thing I did want to mention about the Fool card, and I think it does have a correspondence in modern popular culture, and also a normal deck of cards. The normal deck of cards comes with 2 jokers. It doesn't have a number, much like the Fool, and I do think that there is a link there. Now, if you've ever seen a Batman film, you're probably going to understand what I'm talking about, but you do have that element of, what, craziness, really, I think. Which, if we go back to the Marseille, this isn't a real Marseille, it's just a representation of it, and you have a Fool. He's dressed like a jester again. It does make me laugh. That dog looks more like a cat, but it's ripping at his trousers. and this guy's just carrying on. Good for him, I say. Good for him. So yeah, I'm always very, very wary when the Fool comes up in a reading. If the reading's about spiritual matters, if it's about your personal development or the path you're on or whatever, then I see it as a positive thing. I think, okay, so I can take that risk. I can make that leap of faith with a belief, with an ideal or a paradigm that I may not be used to. And the consequences are going to be a metaphysical one in a way, I suppose. But if the Fool comes up in a reading concerning relationships or money or your will, then I'm very, very, very wary. For example, you got a great idea. It's a great idea. No, it's a really good idea. If we pull it off, we could be comfortable. It would be amazing. However, there is a choice to be made. Say you pull the Fool. Now, I think a lot of tarot readers may be like, oh, the Fool's come up. Hurrah! So you can take that leap of faith. You know, your boundless optimism will see you through. Things are going to be just fine. And of course, what happens? Destitution. Sorrow. So I do think you need to be careful. If it was more sort of, I have a spiritual idea and the benefits would be amazing, and then the Fool comes up, then I think it would be a lot more positive thing. But I think that's just my own personal choice. I'm just saying that I like to be wary when the Fool comes on. Okay, I've been rabbiting on for 21 minutes now, which is kind of ridiculous considering I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not working to a script, so I'm going to leave you now, and I'm just going to leave you with my final card. This is the Night Sun. This is my current personal deck, and this Fool is kind of a mixture of the paradigms, if you ask me. So he's still got a jester's hat, or she has still got a jester's hat. It's still very genderless, but he kind of looks like something out of Assassin's Creed. He looks awesome. You've got your air symbol, you've got your dog, you've got his massive knapsack here. This guy's got, I don't know, more than enough bread, I would have thought. You've also got he's got a mask. You've also got this wheel down the bottom here. Could mean the wheel of the year. It could be a chaos symbol. But how cool is this? How awesome is this? What a great card. I don't know if that's helped at all. I think I've expounded some of my feelings about the Fool, which is a general sense of wariness, I think. So it'd be great to find out what everybody else thinks. I'd just like to say thanks for watching all the way. If you've got all the way to the very end, 23 minutes in, then you should get a medal or something. I think my phone's about to overheat. And I'd just like to say thanks for being a part of this community. It's only been going for just over a month, but I really enjoy it. I've enjoyed all the people that I've met, from the overworked German ladies to those crazy Texan ladies. And I'd like to thank Riona for coming up with this challenge and asking the cool questions. So yeah, have a lovely day, people.